Money, something that's always prioritized at the beginning of any wipe of Escape from Tarkov because nobody likes sitting at $0 and looking like a brokey. Now, there's a couple of ways of making money. If you're a Chad, you can just kill everybody else and take their gear and make money that way. But if you're like me, an average Tarkov player, you have to make monies in different ways. I use my knowledge as the best way for me to make money. Now, you can do this a couple of ways, either by just doing loot runs, but they're incredibly boring, monotonous. I like to make money passively as I play. And how I do this is by using keys. Now, there are tons of different keys in Escape from Tarkov. You've got the really super high expensive one like key cards that you use on labs, and you've got cheap ones that go for next to nothing that are totally useless. Now, I have a very good understanding of what's good and what's not, and I want to impart that information onto you. So I put together a list of my top 10 cheap but must-have keys for the beginning of wipe. Now, I have to say there is actually more than 10 keys. I've kind of done 10 sets of keys. Some keys are so close to each other, I've just kind of bundled them into one, but you'll get it when I explain what the keys are. Okay, we're going to be starting off going map to map, and the first map we're going to be looking at is going to be Lighthouse. Now, this is probably one of the most underrated keys, and it's so goddamn cheap at the beginning of wipe, and this is the Marin key. And this unlocks the trunk of a car, and you can actually find this on the coastline as you're going up towards the water treatment complex. Not only is there a spawn literally right next to this if you get lucky, and you can hit this up, but there also just spawns really good stuff. So not only can you find some of the really rare materials in there, you can find any types of stims to help you towards some of those early quests when you need stims, whether it be morphines or whether it be some of the more higher rare ones that you get from like Black Key Card Room that you're going to need for samples later on. But you can also find things like rollers and bitcoins and anything really expensive item that you're just going to want. Moving on to key 2, and this is also going to be a set of keys where we're going on to the map customs now and going to the 2-story dorms area. Now, we're starting off with dorms 110, and then opposite that we also have dorms 114, and then down the hallway, if you go outside and back inside the building again, you get to 105. Now, what these have in common is they're all safe keys, and the keys themselves are incredibly cheap. And anyone who's been playing Escape from Tarkov for a long period of time knows that safes just pay themselves off so goddamn quickly, and there'll kind of be a bit of a trend with this video is what you'll find. Starting off with 110, there's just a safe in this one, nothing else, but if you move across to 114, what's the complete opposite side, you not only have a safe, but you also have a PC and also a med case too. Again, early days helping you out with those Salewers, morphines, any of the kind of medical items you're going to need for some of those quests. And then to finish us off, like I said, 105, we have just a safe in here, but you also have some loose provisions around here as well, so you can get some food items, again, like noodles, stuff like that is going to be needed for some of those early quests. To kind of go over the reasons why safes are so good, I kind of just glossed over it in the last part, but safes themselves are just such a great investment, especially in the early part of the wipe. It doesn't matter what keys you get for any safe rooms, they will always eventually pay themselves off, sometimes even in the first hit. Like you saw in this clip here, I got an intelligence folder. I probably spent, I think it was about 20 or 30k for the key. The intelligence folders are going for 250k. That was one use, and I already paid the key off, and obviously then some, a massive amount. And then I've still got another 39 uses of the key to continually make money on it. Like I said, out of like the cost effectiveness for purchasing keys for what you'll get in return from them, there are no better keys than safe keys. And for somebody who's also new to the game who doesn't quite understand as well, you'll want to be getting these as well because they also spawn flash drives. Now, flash drives can be an absolute pain in the beginning part of the wipe. There are some quests that require you to find them in raid, and they can be very, very hard to find. Getting on this early will speed up your process in the early part of the wipe and stop you getting stuck and quest lock on certain quests later on down the line. Okay, enough of me yapping. Now moving on to the key number 3. On the next map, this will be Interchange. Now, these keys can be quite expensive in the early part, but I do think they're very good to pick up early if you can afford it, especially if you hit the flea market pretty early on. This is the 11 SR key and the 21 WS key card. Now, the 11 SR is the one that I say is the priority. You're going to need this one pretty goddamn early. Now, for any of you guys who don't know what this key does, it unlocks a separate extract for Interchange, and I think this is probably very, very important because Interchange, as a lot of people know, Interchange has the worst camp spawns in any map. So giving yourself the extra option to have a different extract from the map is always going to be a good help. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat to this key. It does require the power to be turned on Interchange. Now, for all you guys who don't know where the power station is, it's located where the car extraction is out the rear side of Idea. Once this is switched on, you can then go into Burger on the 2nd floor, and then into the toilets there, you can move Portaloo out of the way and swipe the key card. Now, if you go down through the center of the map, going past Kibbet to the hole in the floor as you go down into the basement, turn left, and then the doorway will be on your left-hand side. There is also really good loot spawns in here too. There's a couple of weapon boxes and loose loot like suppressors, attachments, that kind of thing in there too. So it can be worth good money on top. cop. Flip the switch inside and you will extract. Now the 21WS key card, like I said, this can be a bit of a sometimes key if you do have the extra money to have it. I definitely think it's worthwhile taking, especially because it doesn't get hit very often and can have good loot inside. This is located on the opposite end of the map to where the power station is. There will be a container yard. Now, if you hop up into one of the containers here in front, there'll be a key card for you to swipe. Again, this does require the power to be turned on. You can get a spawn right next to this. So if you go and check to see if the power's been turned on at the very beginning of the map, you can hit it. If not, then I would leave it. I would only really ever hit this if somebody else turns the power on. I wouldn't go across the map to turn the power on and then come all the way back again, because that would be a waste of your time. But if they did, always recommend hitting it. Like I said, you've got loose weapon mods in there, expensive weapon mods, valuable loot spawns. You've got actual loose weapons to find in here, loose body armor, and then 2 weapon boxes and more weapon mods loose in here as well. You can actually make good amount of profit from this in just one use. So definitely worth having on you if you are hitting Interchange, because Interchange, you don't really have to have many keys on you. On the subject of the Interchange power, can we please just normalize having the power turned on? Do you know the amount of people that I know who spawn on that side of the map? Because people nearly always spawn over there, just walk past the power and don't turn it on. It just makes the map better for everybody, including themselves. Just turn the power on. Not only does it allow you to take the extract if you want to, also allows the WS2 key, like I said before, and also as well being able to hit Kibber as well. Like, it just benefits everybody. It lights up the map, makes things a little bit better. I mean, unless you're a dirty little rat, then I guess you probably want it to be darker, but still, normalize. Turn the power on. If you spawn at the power station, turn the power on. Sorry about that, that's run over. So we just covered number 3 and 4. Now moving on to key number 5. And that also means moving to a different map. This is going to be reserve, and we're going to be talking about the RBKPRL key. Now, doesn't that just roll off the tongue? Now, this key, I must say at the beginning of wipe, can be pricey, but going back to what I previously said about safes being so goddamn good, this key spawns 2 safes, not just 1, but 2 with 1 key. And again, like I said before, first time I hit this, what do I find? Another intelligence folder, immediately paying the key off for me. Now, I think this was only 100k at this current point. Now, I know this key can go up to about 500,000 to 1 million rubles at the beginning part of the wipe, but like I said, 40 uses, 2 safes, you're always making money on that, even with that high price tag. So if you have the money laying around for this one, I 100% would recommend getting it. Now, staying on reserve, but moving to one of my favorite sets of keys. So these is going to be 2 separate keys, but these are sets, the PSP2, PSP1, PSV1, and PSV2. Now, this is located underground under the K buildings, and these unlock these cages that have wooden crates inside. Now, I actually love this as a loot run, but not only is it good for that, but it's just so goddamn good at finding so many of those early quest stuff that you need. 3 of these keys go for really, really cheap at the beginning of web. One of them can be quite expensive, but again, it's just worth getting because you're always going to make money from these. I mean, speaking of that, on the first hit of one of these keys, I went in and found a tank battery. Now, this is where I always find my tank batteries every single wipe. I don't bother going around looking underneath tanks and stuff like I used to try and find them now. I only hit these crates. I always find them from here. And if you get super, super lucky, you don't have to take it very far to the extract, because the extract is above you. Somebody decides to flip the switch. You can just wander from down here straight upstairs and then get the tank battery out when you need it. Or if you're like me, I normally get my friend to run over and press it for me so I can just walk up and take it out. But that's not all these are good for. So you can get so many craftable items for the hideout from this. You've got food crates for all of your revisions for early part of the quest, like noodles and the chunker and all that kind of good stuff. But then on top of that as well, I can get so many cigarettes from this too. Looking for some of those early quests like bad habits, what you can get stuck on for a while. You can find nearly every one of those cigarettes in these crates, and they're super easy to come by. But like I said, on top of that, they just make money. You can come down here with a really, really big rig if you don't want to risk pressing the button. Feel like you're rig full of food and other bits and bobs. This stuff sells for stupid money at the beginning of wipe on the flea market, so you can just make money from it that way, and then just go and take the manhole extract instead. These 4 keys are some of my favorite keys in the entire game, and severely underutilized, especially at the early part of the wipe. Now going on to number 8. Now this is a very large set of keys, but I had to add all of these in here because they're just so goddamn good. And this is the Concordia 8, 34, 63, 64, and 64 offers. Now I will say the 64 offers is an incredibly expensive key. This one isn't actually that cheap, so I'll leave that one as if you want it, but it can be very, very worthwhile. It's, for instance, you find yourself a Bitcoin in it because they do spawn in there, and it pays the key nearly off instantly. occasionally, but this is only if you have tons of spare money laying around. Okay, starting off with Concordia apartment 8. Now this has one valuable spawn near the bed. Moving across the room to 34, you have yet another loose valuable spawn inside. Then if you move across to the other side, you have the Concordia apartment 63 living room key. So this has 2 loose valuable spawns and also has a stim spawn and med spawn as well in the closet. Again, can be very, very good for some of those early quest like samples, but I will say you can actually glitch into this room if you get onto the ledge from outside and then kind of like wall sprint jump into it. I can't do it very well, but I know a lot of people find it super easy. I don't, so I just buy the key because it really isn't that expensive. And then last but not least, like I said, the Concordia apartment 64 key. Once you go through here, if you go forward, there is 2 loose spawns, one on the bed and then one on the left hand side. You have to the left the Concordia office key. Like I said before, you can get this one depending on how much money you have laying around for it. And now moving on to our last 2 final keys. Going on to our last map, this will be Shoreline. Now both these keys are in the same building and they are again safe keys. You got the Health Resort Management Office safe key and the Health Resort Warehouse safe key. And I can't stress enough, obviously I said it already again, how good safes are. Picking these up early will net you money and also quest items. They're just worthwhile getting. These 2 can be a little bit pricey at the beginning part. Again, like I said, it's just worth getting even at those prices. Now, one thing I did completely forget to mention is with the removal of Find and Raid, this has made these even better because keys next wipe will be cheaper than they ever have before. I would have recommended these keys to you before at their current prices with the Found and Raid still in the game, but now that there's removed, keys will be even cheaper and you'll be able to get them cheaper by getting ones with less uses, but it's entirely up to you which ones you buy. But now with that information, make sure that you're picking these up at the beginning part of the wipe and just make money from them. And if you stayed to the end of the video, I do appreciate you guys. Thank you for sticking around. If you want to help me out a ton, I would appreciate it if you liked and left us a nice comment to tell me if there's any other keys that I missed. And if you like this video, you might like this video where I hit them Dorms Mark Room key 10 times, the new buffed Mark Room key, to try and find some of those new labs key cards that you can get in there. And I'll tell you what, we made some serious money from that.